Session has started.
Welcome, everyone, to our Power Thinking, rejuvenating your amazing mind training for Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. And this is our 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time edition. I'm your moderator, Stanley Green. And of course, while I'm your moderator, you make all of this work by being out there in the audience, but also hitting that star 6. And you can do that at any time. And Carla Hill is already up. Hit that star 6. Uh, this is where we hear from you, and we most importantly allow you to share your perspective. So um, we always enjoy doing this every week in 7:30 to 8 in the morning, 9:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time in the evening. And our goal is to help you to continue to build these essential strengths from emotion regulation to optimism to reaching out so that when, not if, when adversity hits, you are ready. And just last week, and what we're focused on today, as we help you to retrain your brain so that you are prepared for those mini adversities, for those major setbacks, and you're ready to bounce back. Uh, we focus on March Madness. It is a basketball tournament, college basketball tournament, and it is an event like none other where the unexpected can happen. Teams who are expected to win it all, may wind up falling short and sometimes in very dramatic fashion. But what fails to get explored is just what happens to, the young people, and they are young folks who experience, in some cases, unexpected and crushing loss. Because this is the kind of thing that happens in life. Things can be going very well, and all of a sudden, someone taps us on the shoulder and says, "Hey, um, the job that we had, it's going." I had a contract with a healthcare provider, and one of their leaders changed. Then the new leader came in and said, "Okay, we're done with outside contractors," just like that. And not only did they do that, they started laying off many of the full-time staff because things change. Things change with companies, and they move into a mode where they don't have to cut costs for whatever reason, and they're going to be people, human beings that are going to be negatively impacted when we have a tournament like March Madness. Um, most of the teams that will end their season with disappointment. Only one team out of the 64 or 68 teams that are involved, only one will end their season feeling really, really good. And in some cases, it's a dramatic, uh, crushing defeat, like for Duke, who played UConn last week in to get to what would be then the final four teams. Duke was number one rated out of all these 68 teams, was rated number one in what they call number one overall. And they faced UConn. They were beating UConn by almost 20 points for a good part of the game. And then UConn, while they had suffered that adversity, being down and considered out, not only would lose, but lose by many, many points, they came back slowly but surely. So think about our 7 inner strengths of resilience, their emotion regulation, their impulse control, their empathy, their self-efficacy, the belief that they had control over their ability to win that game, their optimism. Ultimately, we're going to succeed. We're going to win. Their causal analysis. What's the root cause of being down by 20 points almost, and fixing that, and then reaching out, connecting with others. And so they weren't individually trying to get it done. They were connected. And together they did it. In the last play of the game, there were about three players who attempted to block a pass, and one got a hand on a pass, uh, thrown by freshman Caden Boozer, who not only throughout this year had an outstanding season, but all through his life growing up with his twin brother, who were a couple of the best players in the country at various ages, and they had nothing but wins and wins and wins and wins. And then for him to be seen as the person responsible for a crushing loss, we tried to make a pass. Someone tipped it. The opposing player got it, and they shot a long three-pointer, made it, and won by 1 point. The difference between incredible elation and incredible uh, defeat, you know, dejection, and possibly depression on the part of some of those players and coaches, and certainly fans, the student body and the alumni of Duke University. So, what are your thoughts about if you watch the video, and the video is titled uh, Caden Boozer, Cayden, Caden Boozer, on final seconds, UConn loss. So check that out. Love to get your thoughts on that. Feel free to hit that *6. We're going to go first. We see that Carla Hill's on the line, and I'm going to acknowledge a couple of folks on LinkedIn. And Merle Cass, who says, "Hi, Stanley Green. My favorite team, St. John's University, suffered a crushing, heartbreaking loss to Duke University on Sunday." You're right. It was a three-pointer that St. John's attempted in the last second by a person who pulled out a win for St. John's a few games before, or the game before, and it didn't go in, and it was a crushing loss for them and a lot of sadness. They lost to Duke on Sunday and ends up NCAA Sweet 16 in March Madness. So you're right, Merle, that definitely happened. I see Coach Carrie Willis. Coach Carrie, good to see you. Checking in from Indiana. The young guy that made that shot for UConn, the 3-point shot, long 3-point shot, is from Indiana. The Final Four will be in Indianapolis. And he was named the best player in Indiana, from what I understand, last year coming out of high school. And so thanks for that comment. And then we have Yolanda Johnson. Hello, everybody. Oh, everyone. Thank you, Yolanda, for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. Feel free to spread the word. Love to get perspectives from various people about, coming back from this kind of setback. Have you played sports or know of anyone that played sports and had this incredible setback? I mean, I still remember a high school game where our team was expected to win it all in the city of Philadelphia. We were that good. 4 players that went on to Division I schools. One played with Larry Bird at Indiana State. Another was a Hall of Famer at Temple. I played at Penn, and another played at American University. And we wound up losing by 1 point in the semifinals. And for some reason, it never goes away. It never goes away. So again, on the phone lines, hit that *6. In on LinkedIn, feel free to mention, share your thoughts, your comments. Let's go to Carla Hill first, who's on the line with us. Carla, thanks for joining us. Mention where you're joining us from and your thoughts about the March Madness crushing defeat and how we handle that. And particularly, anything you noticed about, the response from Caden Boozer when he was interviewed that pointed out a few things that we talk about in our training. Welcome.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Carla Hill calling from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Love the video. As I said today, I'm a sports enthusiast, not, especially growing up, I was like watched everything and just hyper into it, but just in terms of the time that it really takes to be involved, I don't watch it as much anymore, so I'm grateful that you did share this video, and I realize why I love it so much, because it is really a microscope, but it's of life. We have ups and downs and rains on the just, I'm just like, somebody said, "Oh, St. John's." I'm from New York City, so I'm a St. John's fan. The thing is, on Sunday, Duke was the winner. Right? The following Sunday, they're the loser. So weak, right? But the Caden was just amazing, and I watched the video again. I do watch it in the intervening period just to pick up different things, and it's still amazing to me that this 18-year-old, yes, technically he is a man, but that he didn't cry, because I think them holding it together was just really amazing, and sports just helps build that resilience. All the practice that you're doing, and to your point about, um, one trap was magnifying, right? Where he said, "I cost my team the season." That's not, it's not true. A lot of things led up to that, but unfortunately, you were just being realistic that bad tape is always going to play to that. You can make it to 80, 90 years old. That's how people are going to remember it. There's going to be things that overtake that, but that's always going to be part of that portfolio. And I love the reminder that you had that, again, sports, there's offense and defense in terms of the skill sets that we are collecting here and practicing, where we talk about assessing, right, the ABCs and the magnifying things to look out for. That's where you're playing defense. But there's things where you're going to have to demonstrate in terms of empathy and the emotional control, the impulse control, and the emotional regulation that him and his teammate right next to him. When Keaton said, "Oh, I cost the team the game," you saw the body language, the young man next to him not even say, "No, it's not true," right? But that's the way he felt, and just the presence to say, in response to one of the questions from the reporters, basically, how are you processing this? He said, I don't. This is a lot to really process right now. For him to say those words was just the grace and the pressure that he showed during that interview was amazing, and it was just a masterclass of what we do every week and every day through the app. So again, thank you for your vision and this space.
Thank you, Carla. Really appreciate it. Yes, and he did display incredible poise and resilience. And I mentioned this morning that we have many professional athletes in their 30s, late 20s, early 30s. I mean, 10, 15 years older than this young man who, after a crushing defeat, will not even want to talk to the media. They'll storm out, after getting their shower, and they don't want to talk to anyone. And that's no way to handle it. And here, I'm sure he had his cries, and he was really down, but he knew he was going to have to face the media, and they were going to ask the questions and the same questions over and over again. What happened? What was going through your mind when you they didn't say made that big mistake, but that's what they meant. And he handled it so well. We see Charlie Lewis Jr., one of our newest Power Thinking Corp mobile app users. So we really appreciate you being part of our inner circle with Power Thinking, Charlie. Encourage everyone else to check us out. It's actually zero cost to experience the free trial, and our rate structure is absolutely amazing. You go on the app, you can scan it. You can go to Google Play or the app or the Apple Store and just install a Power Thinking Corp app. We're sending you positive notifications every day, and micro learning as it relates to what we do here every week. We now have moved to taking these 30 minutes and reducing it to micro learnings with videos on a daily basis, and we expand even to personal finance as well. So make sure you're part of all of that. and simply join us. So let me go to some of the comments on LinkedIn. If you're on the phone lines, feel free to hit that *6 anytime. Would love to hear your thoughts. What did you think about the video we shared? And someone on LinkedIn said they did see the video. It is titled, if you go to YouTube, Caden, Cayden, Caden Boozer on final seconds of UConn loss, and watch how he handled the press. What did you think about him? What do you think about players? What players should do to be helpful to him in his bouncing back? What did you pick up from that video, and in particular, what did you pick up as it relates to what we talk about with our resilience training? And time permitting, we'll go through some of those points again. But what I want to do is take some time out, because we have many people on LinkedIn. Feel free to send out that link, Meryl, like you normally do, and Charlie and others, to other folks who may be on. Have them come in. Love to get their thoughts, especially if they are into March Madness. So Merrill said that his favorite team is St. John's. It's Carla's team as well. Carla's from New York. Spent many years in Philadelphia, but of course the roots are in New York, and St. John's is big, and many folks are really happy because that program has turned around and they've had participation in March Madness the past couple of years. So certainly folks are happy about that. And, we had Charlie Lewis. Didn't realize you were in Alabama. So joining us from Alabama, we have, unfortunately, the name didn't come up, and maybe it comes up as LinkedIn user, and you can probably see it on the video. Mention your name in the next time you post. It said, I watched the video. Amazing how he was so calm under pressure with the mics in his face. And yeah, reporters have no shame. That's their job, and they're all going to try to get their soundbite and get their question in. Some of those questions are, can be very painful, but they want to get that emotion, and he handled it well. So he was calm under pressure with the mics in his face. And of course, you have that, the kind of questions they're going to ask, and what happened and how you feel. So it takes a lot of strength to be able to face the music, and try your best to be responsive. So he had the mics in his face and being so proud of his team through the loss. And this is one of the points that we want to get across as it relates to our training. A beautiful life lesson for all to be grateful during the ups and downs. So let me focus on that for a second. One of the skills, we have 7 skills of resilience. Let's go to the 7 inner strengths first. The inner strengths of resilient people, the people who are able to bounce back from adversity faster, have these 7 strengths. And if you have the app, you can actually take an assessment to see where you stand with these same inner strengths. Are you above average, below average, or average? And as I go through them, think about Caden Boozer in that interview. The first, if you have these inner strengths at a high level, you're going to bounce back faster. And then think about the young man, 18 years old, crushing defeat. It was global. Everyone saw it. And if they didn't see it then, if they go on the YouTube shorts or, Facebook or TikTok, guess what? They're going to see it from a number of different angles. Emotion regulation first, right? That ability to stay calm under pressure. So obviously his eyes were red, so you can tell that he was really emotional at the very end of this and in the locker room. And at some point he had to pull himself together and regulate, that anger, that sadness, incredible sadness, incredible embarrassment. These are a couple of the 5 big negative emotions. There's anger, the belief that you violated someone else's, or actually the belief that someone violated your rights, right? You lost. There's guilt, incredible guilt, the belief that you violated someone else's rights, right? Next is sadness. It's just pure loss. And that was a loss. And it was big because it was at the last second when they had the game in hand for a long period of time. And after that sadness, there's embarrassment, the loss of standing in a group. So you heard it from him that he felt that not only, he was responsible for losing the game, but he cost his team the season. The season, not just that one game. And remember, they were 35 wins and only two losses before that loss, and that loss only gave them three losses. And yet, he had this incredible sense of embarrassment of all of these emotions. And then, of course, there's anxiety, a fear of a future threat. What does that mean for that program, the Duke program, for his coach, for him, for his teammates? And I'm sure anxiety, that fear of a future threat. So think about it. The five big negative emotions he probably experienced all at one time at a very high level, because this wasn't just something individual. This was something that was shared all over the country and all over the world and continues to be shared. So imagine the level of strength in these seven inner strengths that Caden Boozer not only had to have then when it happened, but as we are speaking today, what is going on in his mind? Remember, our brains are processing 50,000 thoughts a day. 70 to 80% of those thoughts are negative, and many of them for him are going in over and over and over. Emotion regulation, impulse control, the ability not to say or do the first thing that comes to mind. Obviously, the first thing that came to mind in that interview was a negative trap, a thinking trap. I cost the team the season, and we'll get to that. There's empathy, the ability to understand another person's experiences and emotions. He was thinking about his team, and self-efficacy, inner strength number 4, the belief that you have control over your ability to succeed. Where was he there? At that point, I cost the team the season. His self-efficacy was probably very low. Optimism, the view that all things will ultimately have a successful outcome. There were things that he said that gave you the indication that ultimately he was going to look at this thing as best he can optimistically. There's causal analysis, drilling down to the root cause of a situation or problem. Initially, he blamed himself, and then he had to realize that it was a team effort. They shouldn't have let it get to that point. So the cause, moved, and you heard it during the interview, it moved from being just him to our team. We could have done better at holding that lead. And then, of course, reaching out, connecting, taking that initiative to connect with other people. And I'm sure he did that in the locker room, and his teammates surrounded him. Carla talked about how one of his teammates, was shaking his head no when he was saying that he cost the team. And so that team really surrounded him and connected with him. And he's I'm sure taking action. He may be, reaching out to other folks as we speak and talking it through. So those are the strengths. And with what we do with our Power Thinking app, it is helping you to build those strengths. That you can actually identify where you are on those strengths. And again, Coach Kerry Willis and Charlie Lewis Jr., we thank you for joining in. So now the skills. What are the skills that help us to build those strengths? And there's 7 of them. The first 3 are what's called awareness skills, where our job is to be more aware of what's going through our heads. And then the next 4 are action skills. And so we'll get to Caden Boozer with, taking advantage of awareness skills and action skills. There's learning the ABCs. We won't get into that detail, but avoiding thinking traps is big, because initially you heard Caden Boozer actually fall into a thinking trap. There are 8 thinking traps: jumping to conclusions about things. There's personalizing, beating yourself up too much, right? Externalizing, blaming others. There's minimizing the positives and magnifying the negatives. You're hearing that in that interview. There's mind reading, there's overgeneralizing, tunnel vision, and emotional reasoning. I feel sad, so I did this to our team and to myself. So that's a big one. Being able to take those 50,000 thoughts, 70 to 80% that are typically negative, and be able to recognize what category they fall into so that we can do a better job of getting out of that and avoiding them. And then there's detecting iceberg. What are these deep rooted beliefs about ourselves, about the world around us, um, that may be impairing our ability to move forward? Next are the action skills, challenging those beliefs, and then putting things in perspective, calming and focusing, and then real time resilience. So one would suspect that before that interview, Caden had to calm himself down, take those deep breaths, know that the camera's coming, wipe the tears from his eyes, and be calm and focused on what his responses would be. So initially, remember when they asked, so what was going through your mind? And you like to ask that question, reporters, what was going through your mind as you made that play? And he said, I turned the ball over. I cost the team the season. And at that point, he fell into the thinking trap of personalizing. He was beating himself up excessively, and that can lead to severe depression when over and over again, I did this, I messed up, and then it becomes, I'm no good, right? And this is what happens with folks. So he personalized, and one could also argue that he was minimizing and magnifying. He was minimizing the positive stuff that went on all season and then magnifying the negative, right? So those are just some of the thinking traps that he fell into. He, jumped to conclusions that, the season's just a loss, and that's the way it'll be. I'll remember it for the rest of my life. As opposed to, we won 35 games and only lost 3. We had a great season, and he had a great winning season through the grade school and junior high and high school. But here was a key. He actually started to put things in perspective. So to get to the point that our LinkedIn user mentioned about being proud, remember, he started to turn it around and say, well, I'm grateful for this team. Good group of guys, and the best time of his life throughout the season. And he was so grateful for everything that they were able to accomplish that year. So he started to recover in real time from beating himself up too much to the skill of an action skill of putting it into perspective by being grateful for the good things that happened. And for the fact that he was able to have fun playing basketball for most of that year. So that was just one skill, putting it in perspective. Number one, avoiding the thinking traps. He started to recognize that in real time, he was beating himself up too much, and he started moving to gratitude, putting it in perspective. It's another skill. He may not have even realized that he possessed that skill at a high level. And that helped with the emotion regulation, with the optimism and so forth. So you see how that is related. And so LinkedIn user, thank you for pointing that out, about that gratitude, recognizing that this is not just something related to sports, but it's related to life itself, because life is all about the ups and downs. Certainly accepting and being elated about the ups, but recognizing that there are going to be those downs. While most folks would like it to be smooth, remember, having it a nice straight line is a bad thing, because if it's a straight line, it's a flat line, we're dead. So as long as we're living, we're going to have those ups and downs. So Charlie Lewis said, grinding into grit, don't quit. I love that. Never heard that one. Grinding into grit. Just keep moving like UConn did. Don't quit. They didn't quit. They kept grinding. And I think it's kind of they were kind of a function of their coach and that personality. Some may fault the coach, Danny Hurley, for his relentlessness and his determination, but it works. Happy to be joining you from Northern Jersey on this unseasonably warm full moon evening. Well, thank you again, Merle, as we close out. Charlie Lewis Jr., my grandbaby, said hello, Brother Green. Hey, grandbabies, how are you? I have a few of them as well. Hope you're doing well. It's nothing like grands, folks. I hope those, some of you are experiencing that now. Good evening. I see Sarah Gunmella. Thank you very much for joining. And as we get through, micro learning on videos is an asset. Thank you, Coach Kerry Willis. Really appreciate it. And congratulations on all you're doing with all the multiple platforms and the different programs and events that you're having. I'm just seeing you grow, and it's an honor to have you as part of our group. And we have Merrill that says, for sure, Stanley Green, the process of sharing the link with my network. Great. Yeah, share that. Please do share that link. And we will end up, we see Omar M, who is saying hello and hey, Stan. So thank you, Omar, and his tremendous programming. We appreciate you. So we won't get, I see Leona Martin, who's, and by the way, Omar M is a Power Thinking mobile app user. Leona Martin is a mobile app user. And she says, as we wrap this up, my hope is that he will be able to focus on all the success they had once he gets over this devastating loss. And I can tell you, my season ended in the Sweet 16 with a devastating loss. We were up by 4 with 6 minutes left. No, up by about 8 points with 6 minutes left. We wound up losing by 4 to Duke. And Duke went to the national championship and lost to Kentucky. And guess what? I remember it, all the time, especially during March Madness. And one of the announcers during these games, Jim Spanarkel, was a guy that he drew an offensive foul on me, and I fouled out of the game. And so every time I see him on TV, I'm going to say, "Oh, that's Jim Spanarkel." Hey, from Vancouver, Canada. I see it looks like Layla. Thank you for joining us as well. So everyone, thank you so much for being with us. We'll go to our phone lines and say good night to the folks who joined us on the phone. Eric Olson, good to see you, and thank you for joining us. I see Camila White, and Carla and Claudia and Gina Damon. Glad we got that issue straightened out, Gina, and for Eric as well. And if there's a problem with anything, we jump on it, we get it fixed. Calvin Patterson, Joyce Clark, good to see you. Bill Peterson, great to see you as well. Greg Jones, Layla Llewellyn, others. Thank you all for joining us. Make it a fantastic remainder of the week. And remember, since we spend all of our time thinking, these 50,000 thoughts a day, we must think with power and utilize power thinking. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. And on our LinkedIn and our other platforms, we thank you so much. Let's see if we have others who have joined us. We do. And I want to get those up. Annie Osung, early in the morning on Thursday. Strange how sport feels like life and death, but it's only a game. That's a great perspective to have. And, it's one that I haven't heard. There are people that spend so much time, really faulting players and teams. And at the end of the day, it's a game. It's a game. We live to play another day when we have people who within the next few weeks or within the next day may not be on the planet anymore. So very important. And like you say here, to put it all in perspective. So we appreciate you. And Leona says, thank you, Stan. Great video for discussion tonight. Thank you, Leona. And I thank each and every one of you for joining us. Make it a wonderful remainder of the evening. And for those who are like Annie in the UK and other parts of the world, good day.